At the age of 78, Barry Gibb finally opened his heart to speak about the truth surrounding his younger brother, Andy Gibb. It was not just a story of fame and tragedy, but one filled with love, pain, and unbreakable family bonds. Barry, the last surviving member of the legendary Bee Gees, has spent decades carrying both the glory of their global success and the deep sadness of losing his brothers. For him, Andy's name is not only a reminder of incredible talent, but also of the heartbreak that came with it. Whenever Barry talks about Andy, his voice softens. His words come with love, pride, and a quiet sorrow that age and time have never erased. To truly understand Barry's pain, we must go back to where it all began: his childhood, his musical journey, and the extraordinary brotherhood that changed music forever. Barry's life is not only about fame. It's a story about family, loyalty, and how love survives even after everything else is gone. His memories of Andy are proof that brotherly love can outlast the biggest losses life can bring. Barry Allen Crompton. Gibb was born on September 1st, 1946, in Douglas on the Isle of Man, to parents Hugh and Barbara Gibb. He grew up surrounded by music. His father led a band, and his mother was a gifted singer. For the Gibb family, music wasn't just a hobby, it was a way of life. Barry, along with his brothers Robin, Maurice, and later Andy, found harmony not just in their songs but in their souls. From their earliest days, they sang together, experimented with sounds, and dreamed of performing for the world. The family moved first to Manchester, England, and then to Redcliffe, Australia, during the 1950s, seeking better opportunities. It was in Australia that the Gibb brothers started performing publicly, calling themselves the Bee Gees, short for Brothers Gibb. Their early performances at local clubs were humble, but their chemistry was undeniable. Barry's natural leadership and songwriting skills soon became the driving force behind the group's sound. By the early 1960s, it was clear that these brothers were destined for greatness. Together, they would go on to create one of the most successful musical acts in history. The Gibb family's decision to return to England in the mid-1960s would change their lives forever. In 1967, they released New York Mining Disaster 1941, a hauntingly beautiful song that made people take notice. The Bee Gees quickly rose to fame, often compared to the Beatles for their harmonies and style. Songs like To Love Somebody and Massachusetts showcased their ability to turn emotions into melody, and Barry's falsetto soon became one of the most recognizable voices in the world. By the 1970s, the Bee Gees had become cultural icons, especially after their groundbreaking work on the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. Hits like Stayin' Alive, Night Fever, and How Deep Is Your Love didn't just dominate charts, they defined an era. Barry's songwriting genius and creative vision guided the group through constant reinvention, from soft pop to the heartbeat of disco. Beyond performing, Barry was a gifted producer and writer, crafting songs for other legends such as Barbra Streisand, Dolly Parton, Kenny Rogers, and Diana Ross. His ability to blend emotion, rhythm, and storytelling made him a true musical craftsman and one of the most important figures in modern music. Barry's success went beyond the Bee Gees' fame. His songwriting catalog includes more than 1,000 songs, a rare feat that only the greatest musicians can claim. He became known not just as a singer but as a composer, a storyteller who could turn feelings into timeless lyrics. Songs like Islands in the Stream, Heartbreaker, and Chain Reaction became global hits for other artists, proving his versatility. Yet behind the glamour of success was a man who had endured unimaginable personal loss. The Bee Gees were not just a band, they were a family. When Maurice passed away in 2003, Robin in 2012, and Andy in 1988, Barry was left as the only surviving brother. Andy's death, in particular, broke his heart. Andy had achieved massive success as a solo artist with songs like Shadow Dancing and I Just Want to Be Your Everything, but he also battled depression and substance abuse. When Andy passed away at just 30 years old, Barry felt as though a part of his soul had been taken. "I lost my best friend," Barry once said, capturing the pain that has never truly left him. Despite all his fame, that loss became one of the most defining moments of his life. In his personal life, Barry's story has been one of lasting love and deep devotion. His first marriage to Maureen Bates ended in 1970, but that same year he met Linda Gray, a former Miss Edinburgh, while filming Top of the Pops. Their meeting was the beginning of one of the most enduring marriages in the entertainment world. On his 24th birthday, Barry and Linda married, and their union has lasted more than 50 years. Together, they raised 5 children, Stephen, Ashley, Travis, Michael, and Alexandra, and built a home filled with love and stability. Barry often says his wife and children gave him purpose beyond music. Through every high and low, they reminded him of what truly matters. His eldest son, Stephen, pursued music, showing that the Gibb family legacy would continue. Today, Barry and Linda are proud grandparents, finding joy in seeing their family grow. Even when life was painful, his family kept him grounded. They helped him find happiness away from fame, and that love became his greatest source of strength. For Barry, family has always been his anchor, the one thing that kept him going when everything else faded away. Despite his legendary status, Barry Gibb has always remained humble. Over the years, he developed friendships with some of the biggest names in the music world, including Michael Jackson, who even stayed with Barry's family in Miami for a time. Barry's ability to balance fame with simplicity made him unique. In 2006, he bought the Tennessee estate once owned by Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash, a symbolic gesture that showed his deep respect for music's history. 3 years later, in 2009, Barry and Linda became American citizens, marking a new chapter in their lives. But through all the changes, Barry never forgot his roots or the lessons his brothers taught him. He often spoke about the laughter, long recording sessions, and unbreakable bond they shared. He remembered how Maurice brought humor, how Robin added soul, and how Andy brought light. Even after losing them, he continued to keep their legacy alive. Every time Barry performed, he said he could feel their presence beside him. The Bee Gees may have ended as a group, but in Barry's heart, the brothers never stopped singing together. Barry Gibb's success was not only due to his talent, but also his character. He was never one to chase headlines or scandals. He focused on his art and treated music as a gift meant to be shared. Those who worked with him often described him as kind, patient, and deeply dedicated. In the studio, Barry was known for his perfectionism, spending countless hours refining harmonies and lyrics until every note felt right. His collaboration with Michael Jackson became legendary, blending 2 musical geniuses with very different styles. Together, they shared ideas, rhythms, and techniques, inspiring one another to push boundaries. Barry's approach to music was always selfless. He believed in teamwork, in helping others shine, and in making the best music possible. His songs carried emotion and warmth, which is why they continue to touch hearts decades later. Even today, new artists study his songwriting to learn how to turn feelings into sound. For Barry, music was never just a career. It was a way to express love, faith, and the human experience. Beyond the spotlight, Barry was known for his generosity and compassion. He supported many charities over the years, donating to causes related to health, education, and music. He believed that music could heal, inspire, and bring people together. Many of his songs, like How Deep Is Your Love and To Love Somebody, carry messages of empathy and hope that feel as powerful today as when they were first written. Barry also took time to mentor young musicians, giving advice to those who wanted to follow in his footsteps. Despite being one of the most successful artists of all time, he remained approachable and down to earth. The experiences of loss, love, and endurance shaped his philosophy of life. He often said that pain teaches patience and that true happiness comes from giving love, not receiving it. As he grew older, Barry began focusing more on health, peace, and reflection. Even after all his achievements, he stayed grateful, understanding that fame is temporary, but love and family last forever. Now at 78, Barry Gibb stands as one of the most respected figures in music history. His journey, from a small-town boy on the Isle of Man to a global superstar, is a story of determination, family, and creativity. The Bee Gees' music continues to live on in movies, concerts, and streaming platforms, reaching new generations who discover their magic for the first time. For Barry, each performance is a tribute not only to his fans, but to his brothers who are no longer with him. When he sings, he says he can still hear Andy's laughter, Robin's voice, and Maurice's gentle jokes. Their harmonies, once the heartbeat of the Bee Gees, have now become his memories, living forever in every note. Barry's life shows that behind every legend, there is a human story. After Freddie's death, Mary Austin became the quiet guardian of his world. She didn't seek attention, nor did she use Freddie's fame for her own benefit. Instead, she chose to protect his legacy with grace and dignity. Freddie had left her a large part of his wealth and his beloved home, Garden Lodge, in London. To many, that decision was surprising. But for those who knew their story, it made perfect sense. Mary had been there from the very beginning, not for money or fame, but out of love and loyalty. She was Freddie's anchor when the waves of fame threatened to drown him. Freddie trusted Mary more than anyone else. He once said in an interview that if everything ended tomorrow, Mary would still be there. That was true. While the world saw Freddie as a superstar, Mary saw him as a person, vulnerable, funny, kind, and sometimes insecure. She protected that version of him from the outside world. After his death, she kept his memory safe, refusing to turn his life into a spectacle. Many fans wanted access to his home or his personal belongings, but Mary guarded everything like a sacred treasure. She believed that Freddie's private side should remain private, a gift only he had shared with her. Behind the tall brick walls of Garden Lodge, Mary Austin carried her grief silently. The world outside moved on. Queen continued to shine, and Freddie's music lived forever. But for Mary, the loss was deeply personal. The laughter that once filled the house was gone. The man who made every corner of her life bright was no longer there. Every room, every photograph, every memory was a reminder of the love she once had and lost. She didn't remarry immediately, though she tried to move forward. Mary had relationships after Freddie's passing, but nothing ever reached that same emotional depth. She later admitted that no one could replace him, because what they had wasn't just romantic love. It was something deeper. It was a soul-level connection that doesn't come twice in a lifetime. Freddie's spirit seemed to stay in that house. Mary often said she could feel his presence, especially when she was alone. She described moments of stillness when it almost felt like Freddie was nearby, as if his energy had become part of the home itself. That belief gave her comfort. She once said that she never felt truly alone, because a part of Freddie would always be with her. Years later, when Mary Austin finally opened up about her true feelings, the world listened with admiration and tears. She confessed that Freddie had been the love of her life. Her words were filled with sincerity, honesty, and the weight of years of silence. "I lost my eternal love," she said softly, when Freddie died. It wasn't a confession meant for attention. It was an emotional truth that had lived inside her for decades. She admitted that Freddie was the only person who truly understood her. They had a language of their own, a kind of connection that didn't need many words. Freddie once described Mary as his common-law wife, even though they were never legally married. He said that no one could replace her in his heart, and he kept his promise until the end. Hearing Mary finally say those words, that he was the love of her life, brought closure to many who had followed their story for years. For fans around the world, that confession wasn't just about romance. It was about loyalty, faith, and love that transcends time. Mary's honesty reminded everyone that some bonds are too powerful to fade, even in death. It showed that true love doesn't always need a perfect ending. Sometimes, it simply lives on in memory. After Freddie's passing, Mary lived a simple and private life. She became the legal owner of his mansion, his art, and his personal treasures, a responsibility she took seriously. But she never treated those things as her own. She saw herself as the caretaker of Freddie's memory. For more than 30 years, she ensured that his wishes were respected and his legacy stayed intact. Mary was never one for the spotlight. While others made documentaries, wrote books, or gave interviews about Freddie, she stayed away from fame. When asked why, she said, "It was his life, not mine. I just happened to be part of it." That humility made people admire her even more. She turned down opportunities that could have made her rich or famous because to her, Freddie's trust meant more than anything